Hi everyone. If you're watching this, you might notice that everything looks a little bit different, and that would be one because it's not like super late at night for some reason. And also I moved, so I have a different setup, and it's gonna look super cool. Maybe once I figure out everything, because I like just moved into this place. So yeah, that's life update for you. I don't know if you care. If you haven't noticed already, because of last episode, we talked about Promising Young Woman. We're doing like an Oscars like series type of thing. So this movie and the next movie that we're gonna do are movies that were talked about like in the Oscars and everything. And they're up for awards, definitely for sure. But yeah, we wanted to do some of the movies off the list that we want to talk about that would be interesting for like the pod. I hate that for the podcast. So yeah, so today we're gonna talk about Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
So the film Ma Rainey's Black Bottom came out in 2020 on Netflix, December 18th. The film is adapted from the stage play by August Wilson, and the film deals with the rising tensions that occur when the trailblazing Mother of the Blues and her band gather at a Chicago recording studio in 1927. And it has I don't know why I thought this would be like a little tidbit, but it got a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, and on Letterboxd it has like an average 3.5 out of 5. And so I just thought that was interesting.
3.5 out of 5?
Yeah, I'm like, that's a
Only
really big... Yeah, and I just thought that was interesting, like the difference you see of like critic response and like just average everyday people response. Yeah, so I just thought that was interesting. I wanted to like throw that in there. Yeah.
Well, I mean...
Oh, wait, can I mention the awards that it's up for?
Oh, yeah, please.
So it's nominated for Best Actress for Viola Davis, Best Actor for Chadwick Boseman.
R.I.P.
I know, the posthumous nomination.
I almost cried. I was like...
I know, it
took me so long to watch this movie because I was still so sad. I'm still very sad.
I know. It's up for Best Costume Design, Best Makeup and Hairstyling, and Best Production Design. So 5 nominations for the Oscars, which are on April 25th.
Yes. Yeah, dang, that's a lot. That's a lot. I was gonna, like, the fact that it was up for both makeup and hair and costume. Like, I was gonna mention some stuff about that. Just things in the movie that I thought were, like, pretty cool because it was just consistent throughout the whole film. I thought it was super cool. But we'll talk about that later.
Okay. Serena's Fashion Corner makes a comeback.
Just coming back,
yeah. Okay, so first impressions, I guess we have to start with.
First impressions. I liked it.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. First watch, you liked it?
Yeah.
How did you hear about it? You didn't hear about it until Oscars, or?
No, I knew about it before. Like my dad had seen it like when it first came out, and then I was waiting to watch it, but like obviously it came out so close to when Chadwick died, and I was like super sad, and I was like I could not like watch it at that point, so I actually just watched it yesterday.
Dude, your dad is on it. Your dad is like a cinephile a little bit. He's seen like all these movies.
Like both of my mom are just like going through these films. I'm just like, why'd you wait for me?
They're on it. Yeah, I had heard the name, but it wasn't even on my radar, I think. And we talked about it a little bit in Black Bear, how I know the Black Bear one's not going to come out for a hot minute, but I have to, since we already recorded that one, it's fresh in my brain about talking movies, which we talked about. And I think that that's maybe why, like, I was like, I don't know if this is going to be one that I enjoy, because it was, and it makes sense, adapted from a stage play. It's going to be mostly dialogue.
Because I didn't see that until the end credits, where it was like, oh, adapted from stage play. And I was like, that explains everything. Because I was like watching it, and like I've taken a lot of theater classes, and I've had to like take a lot of classes where you also dissect plays and like screenplays and like stuff like that. And I was like,
Mhm.
this is so clear cut, like where the freaking like the end of act one, like, and everything like that. And I was like, holy crap, like it's like in a movie it's clear, but like just for dialogue, I was like, oh, okay, that line, like that entire scene right there, and the end of act one just sums up the whole thing. So I was like, okay, I already know what's gonna happen. But it was like so well written. It was, oh my goodness, it was great. I love
It
that.
really
I love when
was.
something's like very clearly like defined and you can see all the themes playing through, like the screenplay, like all the way through to the end, and every character has their own little bit and their contribution to the theme. This movie was, at least the
Yeah,
writing
it
was
was definitely
absolutely
different
amazing.
from like other of those like sort of talking movies that we said, like
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm and Marie was one of them and stuff like that. I think because just that it wasn't in those movies, it was a really generalized sort of dialogue that had nothing to do with plot or what was happening in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
This one, it was like, yeah, it all correlated and it all made sense and it all had to do with
Yeah.
like the little world that was like cultivated. It's really, really good. Even though, and some of it was like really profound and like could transcend out of the movie, but
Mm-hmm.
it was amazing to me like what they were able to achieve just through like in that little room, in that little like rehearsal
Yeah.
room, between all the
Yeah.
characters. That was amazing. The performances were amazing. It was so
Yeah.
unreal, like
It was
so
good.
talented. I was like, that's what made it too. I mean, if it had been
Yeah.
anybody else, it would have been so different.
Because
But
it's really hard to pull off just like, for starters, dialogue as an actor.
like you have to
Like,
have a
especially if
presence.
something's just purely dialogue. Because
Yeah.
when you write like a screenplay, they do, like they might give you stage directions and stuff, but it's generally up to like the actor and the audience, and so there's never really like. And then of course I haven't read the screenplay or the like the stage play, but a lot of times they just kind of give you like, oh, he walks, or like they don't say like he walks this way. Like there's different blocking that the director does in order to like make the stage like some like a space for the actors to like move around. And so as long as they like go with blocking, the actor can basically make any gesture, any like presentation that they want. So it's really interesting like how this one worked out, because sometimes these movies are really boring. Like
Mm-hmm.
there was like,
Yeah.
what's that one movie they make you watch in like film school? Is it like 12 Angry Men or something like that?
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
There's one
Thankfully,
that's
then.
like black and white and it's like a jury and they're in the room and they're trying to decide like what the punishment or whatever for the guy's gonna be, and that's like the whole movie. It's just their conversation in the one room talking about like, and it's basically like one dude's like, no, we're not gonna leave because we have to come to a unanimous decision, and he's like, well, I don't think this, and he's basically trying to convince everyone like to give the guy a chance, basically. I hope that's 12 Angry Men. I'm gonna look it up after this, but I'm pretty sure that's the movie. I think it won an Oscar, but
Wow.
it's like
Really?
it's old. It's old. It's old. It's
Oh.
like the guy that is in dang it, why can't I remember the name of the movie? The movie about the filibuster. So and so goes to Washington. The other black and white one. It's
No
that
idea.
actor.
Filibuster? I have no idea.
They talk about like the filibuster in that movie. It's something so and so goes to Washington, like Mr. So and so goes to Washington. This is gonna bug me, but Ceci will probably put in like whatever movie I'm talking about visually somewhere around here, so you can. Ceci's got me. She's got it. She's got it. She'll put it in. For those of you
She'll
that are
know.
listening, I'm sorry.
The
You'll never know.
telepathy. She'll
Yeah, for
know.
those of you that are listening, maybe I'll put in the description of like the podcast episode or something so you can find out what the heck this movie's called. You probably know what it is. It's just like I cannot remember it right now. Yeah, sometimes those movies are like really boring.
Yeah. You kind of have to be like over the top, I feel like.
Yeah,
You have to
be
like do
really
the most.
because
Yeah,
like it's
I
really
prefer that.
hard when you have characters that are in one room and you've never met them before. And sometimes they know each other, sometimes they don't know each other. And I think in this movie, something that was to their benefit was that they were a band, so they all knew each other. And so they could make like inside jokes about certain things, and you didn't have to like learn by someone else learning. You just learned about them by how they interacted with each other. Which I think just writing wise is a lot more interesting to watch. Like I hate when you're like even in reality TV shows, the episodes where it's like you're just learning about people and they're like, oh, hey, how are you? Like, what's your name? Where are you from? Like, I hate that. It's so boring. I'm just like, Jesus, skip. I'd rather just skip all of the. I normally do if they're like streaming, like I'll just skip them and then just kind of pick up the bits and pieces of like other people's conversations. So sometimes I don't get all the info I need, but I'm way more entertained. But yeah, I think that's something like
Valid.
with this movie and plays like this that kind of helps it out is when you can actually add in like subtext instead of having to just give the audience the context through dialogue because that bothers me so much. Even in like
Mm-hmm.
action films, I hate it when they do something so specific. Ugh, there's a movie that does it really bad, and I can't remember it, but it's basically like the example is like instead of it being like, oh, here's like a news story of like something that's happening, they go, oh, hey, so and so. So I heard you went to blah, blah, blah last night. Did you hear about the shooting that happened? And it's like, that's so stupid. Like, it's so much more interesting when you're in a room and you're like, oh, okay, so how are you? Like, are you doing okay? Then you're like interested in like what's happening. Like, you start in the middle of the conversation. It's just
Yeah,
like a thing, like, you know?
yeah, they always say that when in writing scenes to begin them in the middle of the action, never
Yeah.
to like start at the beginning.
And so that
Just
was
for
probably really cool because even though the movie was named Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and I know now that I've watched it that it's more based off like the song and all the conversations that kind of like sparked it because of the song that they're supposed to record and not actually Ma Rainey because she didn't actually show up that much in the movie.
Yeah, I mean
And I was a
she.
little disappointed. I was like, okay, cool. Like it was like 15 minutes in, and then she's finally like on screen, and I was like, all right. But it was kind of
Yeah,
cool because you could already tell a lot about her from the first 15 minutes because like she was running late. They're like, she's gonna be here. And they kept like referencing, like, okay, yeah, but like Ma's gonna do this. Ma said this already. And so it was like she was there even though you didn't see her.
yeah,
And this is something actually we talked about in our last episode with Promising Young Woman, where we were like, what was her name? Cassandra's friend that dies. And we were like, I feel like I didn't get to know her. And that we were supposed to project onto like who that girl was. Like this movie does it a little bit better where they talk about her. She still has a presence within everyone's life. And that presence you can feel from the audience even when she's not on screen. That was something that was lacking with that character in Promising Young Woman. Like it's a really good movie and there's super interesting like conversations that they have and stuff, but I was like a little disappointed with how little of Ma Rainey there was compared to all of the men. Because there were a lot of scenes just with the band in the room and an all male band. And you only got scenes with Ma when she was like talking or singing. That's it.
that is true. I don't know. Yeah, that's just what's interesting. I guess I'm kind of falling victim to that same bias because I felt like it was okay, but then yeah, I guess there's really no reason to not have. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know how I feel
Yeah,
about it. I feel
I
like
don't
it's
either.
okay, but then that would be that's kind of
Yeah.
inconsistent with stuff that I've said. So I don't know why it is that I feel okay about this one.
I know, and it's interesting because we chose this movie because we were like, yeah, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Viola Davis, like
Yeah,
she's
we thought she
also
was gonna.
like advertised as the star of the movie. And so I was
Yeah.
expecting so much more. And that's why we chose this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because if she wasn't advertised as the star, then we wouldn't have been able to do this movie because it's directed by a man. And that's
Mm-hmm.
like it. And so I was like, oh, she's not in this movie that much.
Yeah, that's
Like I thought the
true.
movie was going to be more about her, but I honestly felt like it was more about Levy and
No,
like
definitely.
the band.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's a really interesting and good movie, though. So, like, I don't mind that much, but just like
Yeah.
as an observation, I was like, interesting, because it's called Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and I thought that it was because of Ma Rainey. They even had her picture at the end. Like, we were learning so much about Ma Rainey and her history and stuff, and I was like, except we didn't.
That is super true. I haven't even thought about that, but that's so true.
Because,
Yeah.
like, I don't know, when I was watching it, I kept thinking about, like, and this was probably because I watched it right after my classes and stuff. And so in my head, it was like very fresh in my brain, like things that you see on screen. Because we were talking about, um, right now, we're basically going through like presentations of different people talking about certain representation. And we were talking about like class. That was like the last presentation that was happening was like class and how it's generally shown in the media. And so I kept thinking about how, oh, it was class, and then it was also like LGBTQ plus representation, and it was talking about like basically how like burying your gays, that like trope in television where a lot of times like the gay character is killed off because that's the only like reason for them to be like in the film or the movie or the television show. And I was thinking because it's also similar a lot of times to like Black people too, where like
Yeah.
a lot of the movies that get a lot of praise and recognition by like the Academy are oftentimes like Black people suffering, or they're like, or like the tragic gay like storyline where it's like, yeah, they're gay but they don't get the happy ending at the end. Like so many movies have actually been nominated, and I was like, within the last couple of years, almost every single Oscar season, there's been one, at least one that's been nominated. And I was like, Call Me by Your Name, that doesn't necessarily have a happy ending. Portrait of a Lady on Fire was talked about, but they didn't actually like put it in the running, which it should have been there.
That one wasn't tragic to me. I don't know why.
It wasn't tragic, but it was like, it wasn't necessarily like a happy ending.
Well, what was the one with what's his name? And he was playing a trans woman. That one won because I know that he won for playing the trans woman. Is it called Dutch Girl? Yeah.
I don't remember. I think so.
Think it is. Yeah. And so that one, I was like, okay, whatever.
And then like 12 Years a Slave, that one won an Oscar. And I was like, you've got all these stories where just like queer people and Black people are just suffering. And I was like, even technically, like Moonlight won. It's not a happy story. It's all about his struggles of like being a gay Black man, like growing up. And like it's sad. like everyone cries in that movie. And it got an Oscar, and it's like, okay, it's like Green Book won Best Picture.
I still haven't seen it. I don't want to see it because I know I'm gonna hate it.
You don't have to. It's like,
but I want to get in on the hate
like,
for it.
Yeah.
I want to join it.
And so it's just like interesting. And so now we have Ma Rainey, and so it was kind of like I had that in the back of my head when I was watching this movie, and so I was like, okay, interesting. Like, I wonder if this one's going to be more about like Black suffering, or if it's going to be a little bit more like historical, because those are also movies Hollywood kind of likes to do, is when it's like a biopic of someone's life, and they do a really good job. Like, what was it? Bohemian Rhapsody, I believe, was nominated, and that one was about Freddie Mercury and like Queen and that band. And so I even think like that same year there was like a bunch of, okay, not a bunch. There was one movie that was nominated that had to do with that British guy, Churchill.
Oh yeah,
Churchill. The British guy.
Yeah. Narrows it down.
What a descriptor. Because like Hollywood and like the Academy, they like stories that either are like really sad. The only time there's anything where like people are winning is if it's like white women like overcoming something, or like white men overcoming something. Just like historically, like of course there's going to be a few that aren't necessarily like that, but the majority of them, because I looked up the list of like Oscar winning movies, like the majority of them are just like, if it's most of them are white. There's one movie that's been directed by women, and that was Hurt Locker, Catherine Bigelow. And then every other movie is basically white, unless it's like 12 Years a Slave, Moonlight, and Shape of Water, and what was the other one? Birdman?
I never saw that one either.
Even though, but the main character was white, just the director wasn't.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway,
that kind of begs a whole discussion about things that like critics find, because that's why I thought it would be interesting to put in that Rotten Tomatoes score versus like the audience score, because there's definitely things that like critics enjoy that people don't, and vice versa. And I was actually talking about, this is super random and I can't believe it's relevant, but I was talking to Kiana about the fact that like certain treatment of actors and stuff like that, like it's really bad, and it's been happening like with child actors and the ways that they're like taken advantage of, and like just like sexual assault allegations. Like recently, all this stuff is just coming out, and I was just like, yeah, it's insane. Like how long people have been getting away with this, like since the 50s, like since the conception of TV, And Kiana was like, well, it's the same people that were at the conception are still around, are still in the industry. And I was like, holy fuck. Like that, I didn't even think about that. But I was like, that's so fucking true. They're still alive and they're still working.
Yeah.
And so,
like, Tarantino.
Wait, he's not that old. He's like 40. That's not what I'm talking about.
He's not that old, but he's got enough stuff. Well, like him and Spielberg, they're like kind of like the kings of like the 80s movies or whatever. Because they got big in the 80s. They were 20. And they were
I'm talking about
like
way older. I'm talking about like Woody Allen. I'm not talking
like
about
Allen.
Yeah. Like I'm talking about that, like way older than fucking
way
Tarantino.
Older. Okay. I was
like Woody Allen was like famous when Tarantino was born. That's what I'm talking about.
Like the Coppolas, the oldest one.
Not okay. So, like I'm talking about like fucking like Roman Polanski.
Oh, okay. That's
like fucking. Like he's like 87, like Woody Allen's like 90. I'm talking about those guys. Those guys that were actually like working at the conception of this shit, like when this shit was happening. And they're still working, and they're still around, and they're still getting awards, and they're still participating. Those are the people I'm talking about. And those are the kinds of people that I'm like, those are the people that are influencing, and those are the people that are stuck in those ways of like of their gaze, of being like, oh, the hurt, the pain of, right, like you said, burying the gays and blaxploitation and like stuff like that. It's those people. That's what I'm thinking about.
And it's interesting too, because when you take like history classes of like film history classes, you basically start out with like I want to see the oldest you can get is like, or I guess the first movie is like the Lumiere brothers, like thing on the train, and they're like, this is the first moving picture, and you're like, okay, that's kind of cool, I guess. And it's like 5 seconds long. It's not even 5 seconds, it's like even shorter than that. And then you don't really get a movie until 1915, and I want to say it was Birth of a Nation, and that was kind of like what, it was 3-hour long silent film with hella races that you're forced to watch. Because of like the fact that it was one of the first ones. You get that one, and then you get like a few other like smaller short films, and then nothing else happens until I want to say 1920s. So you've got like the 20s. There's a couple of movies in there, but there's not like a lot. A lot of those filmmakers were also like playwrights and stuff like that, so they kind of did both. And then you don't really get a lot of stuff between the 20s and the 30s. Movie wise, like nothing was really big until the 50s. And people that were alive in the 50s, like they're still alive today.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm like, shit was bad in the 50s. Like we always talk about how the 50s were super racist, this and that, whatever. And the people that were working then are still working now.
Yeah, like Hepburn, not Audrey, but her sister, Catherine. Catherine's still alive.
Really?
I think. If she's not still alive, she died like within the past couple years.
Was she working?
I want to say her last movie was An Affair to Remember or something like.
She died in 2003. Wow, she was 90.
Jesus, 2003?
She was 96.
Okay, well that's my bad, because 2003 still feels like 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's 17 years ago, dog. That was 18 years ago. You were fucking like 4 years old.
Oh my God. My sense of time is gone. What is time? Time's not real.
It's not. Illusion. It's really not.
Dang. All right.
But yeah, so when I hear about that kind of stuff, it like doesn't really shock me, and that's why honestly stuff that gets nominated for Oscars, like I always am like, this is just so average, just because the standards are different, and it's just different standards, and it sucks that like that's the way that people judge whether a work is worth something or not, is just by this old ass system, because it's like we're not gonna give newer things praises. I say we, but it's not me, it's them. They're not gonna give newer things and better things praises because of just cultivated taste, and that taste just happens to prefer things that are racist and sexist and like
Yeah.
those traditionalist values, whether or not it's conscious. I feel like
Yeah.
it's just like habit and like that kind of stuff as well. But you know, it really sucks the way that it's kind of like gate kept and it's stopping a lot of other works from being recognized. Because once something gets nominated, it's like basically opening the floodgates of like distribution. Like
Yeah,
Love
it
and
really
Monsters,
does.
like with Dylan O'Brien and stuff. I had never even like seen that movie, and then now it's getting like a wide release and stuff like that. And, like,
I wanted to watch it, but only because I like Dylan O'Brien.
yeah, I have a friend that watched
From
it
the
just for him.
beginning. From the beginning, Dylan
Yeah.
O'Brien. We stand.
OG stan.
I stand.
You're like, yeah.
For Celebrity Crush, let's go.
Yeah. So yeah, it really sucks that it's just
He's also just not problematic at all. So there's that.
Dylan O'Brien.
Yeah, it's like, you do you, boo.
Oh, knock on wood, girl. Knock on wood.
I know.
Better pray he doesn't say shit. Oh no, I hope this doesn't age badly.
I know.
You better not say shit, Dylan. Don't say shit.
We're watching you.
Don't say shit, boy.
This better not be some freaking Army Hammer situation.
Dude, that's my worst fear. It's so hard to have faves because you never know.
Oh man, that would
you never
hurt.
know.
So I was like, dang, you really screwed so many things up for us.
I know.
Like there's this TikTok and she was talking about like what's something that you can't enjoy because of something that like some white man ruined. And she was like, I really love the soundtrack, especially like Sufjan Stevens stuff from Call Me By Your Name. And I was like, yeah, like that soundtrack was amazing. But I literally can't listen to it without thinking about Armie Hammer and how he's just like the worst. And it's like, ugh, thank you so much. Like it's so hard to like separate art from the artist, especially when it's something like that.
I know. No, I feel the same. It's hard. It's difficult. It's so difficult.
Yeah.
That's a hard one. That's a whole different discussion. Yeah, go for it. What were you saying?
Well, I was gonna say like separating the artist from the art is also really difficult, especially when like one of them has passed away, because Chadwick's getting a lot of like stuff which he totally deserves for this movie. And like the only thing I was kind of like hoping was that it wasn't like a bad movie when I was watching it, because I was like, he's getting a lot of hype for his acting. And like his acting was insane. Like, oh my goodness.
His
acting was amazing. But I was like, I really hope that, and like it took me, as I said earlier, so long to actually get down and like watch this movie, because I was still like super sad. And like I'm still so sad. But like when I went into this movie, I was just like crossing my fingers and I was like, please don't be a bad movie. Like I hope people aren't just liking this movie because like Chadwick was in it and it was his last movie. Like I hope they're not just like giving it undeserved like attention because like he was in it, and like the only reason that it's getting big is because he had something to do with it. Because that would be really sad if that's what this movie like ended up being, but it wasn't. But that was something that I was also thinking about like a lot before watching this movie, and that was kind of another reason why it took me so long to watch it, because I was like, if it's bad, I'm gonna be so pissed.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to separate.
It's well, yeah, I guess it's just taste as well, because this one, it was good. It was a good movie. I fucking loved Da 5 Bloods, the fucking Spike Lee movie. Chadwick Boseman was in there. It has gotten no recognition. I fucking love that movie so much. And it's disappeared off the face of the earth, which sucks. And I wish that one had gotten recognition, but I guess it's just taste, because that one I was like, dude, that's a fucking 10 out of 10. But, you know, this one, I don't know. I guess this is the one they wanted to go for. I guess it kind of makes sense, whatever. They like that kind of, whatever.
Yeah.
Critics like that kind of stuff.
Watching this movie, I'm like, oh, I can tell why critics really like it, because I was kind of like, oh, this movie got nominated, like, because from the trailers and stuff, I thought it was going to be like a music movie, like where you're watching them like perform and like go on tour and like there's a lot happening and stuff. And then I was watching it and I was like, oh,
they tricked you.
I get it. I was like, because I think I checked the time. I was like, damn, they haven't really moved from this one room the whole time. And then I checked the time and I was halfway through and I was like, oh, it's one of those movies. All right, cool. Because I was like waiting. I was like, are they going to record? Like, what's going to happen next? Like, aren't they just going to sit here and talk the whole time? And I was like, oh, it's a talking movie. And like the dialogue was really great. Like I remember even in the beginning, I was like, wow, they've got some great lines in here. Some great like conversations and themes. Like all over, and I was like, all right, this is kind of cool. I wonder where it's going to go, because I kept waiting for it to like pick up, and then it never did. And I was like, oh, I totally see why critics like this movie, because of the types of people that have been in Hollywood and like done stuff for the Academy for so long. It's almost as if they've created their own like genre for movies that you can guess are going to be like Oscar nominated.
Literally,
you watch something, you're like, oh, this looks like an Oscar nominated movie. This looks like it was probably premiered at like a film festival. Like, this looks like a Sundance movie. Like, it's so easy to tell because they always pick the same type of stuff.
Yeah. Oh my God, can I just say really quick? I was going to start with this because I just remembered it, but I forgot. But then I remembered. Remember how we said in which one? The half of it? We were like, oh, we're going to be the first ones to like make a movie with a girl who like takes a fat shit or something like that. I finally watched Nomadland. That happened in there.
Yes.
She was the first. I know, right? Oh, they broke that glass ceiling.
She was like traveling and stuff? Like, did she have to like crap in a hole?
It was literally so random. She's in her like van and she's like playing a fucking instrument. I can't remember what she was playing, like a guitar or something. She's like doo-doo-doo. And then she has like a bucket, and then all of a sudden she's like, and she like gets up and like literally and just starts like randomly shitting. And I was like,
that's so random.
But it was amazing. The performance.
Interesting.
Wow.
So
I know, the talent tree. No, and then they were like, you know what? Best picture, best director.
They were like, this is it.
As they should.
This is it. This is the one.
This is the one. Yeah.
That's so funny.
I was like, you know what?
I still have to watch that movie.
It was actually pretty good. I feel like we might be able to talk about it. I don't know. Up to you though.
Maybe. If it wins, we'll do an episode.
Okay. That's a good one. If it wins something, then we'll do an episode. If it wins,
we'll do the episode.
Okay, cool. That sounds good.
Hear that, everyone?
Hold us to it.
Vote for a vote.
We'll do it eventually. We're not going to say when, but like we'll do it.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so should we do the fuck, marry? I mean, what are we doing? Yeah, fuck, marry, friend zone. We haven't done an actual fuck, marry, friend zone in a really long time, actually.
There's so many men in this movie.
I know there
so
are.
So many. Ugh.
I think like of the episodes we've released, we have done it, but then the ones we've been recording lately, we keep not doing it. Okay, so we have... Okay, is that fucked up if we do Chadwick Boseman? That's so fucked up. Let's not do that.
I know, I was thinking about that too. I was like, is it?
That'd be so... Yeah, that feels fucked up, so let's not do that.
Feels wrong.
Yeah, that's... Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, let's not do it.
Okay, so who do we have? We have... Fucking...
all of these old men.
I don't know
how old the nephew is in the movie.
Yeah, I'm scared to do that one too.
He seemed a bit young. Okay, so we've got only old men. We've got Cutler. We've got Toledo,
and Slow Drag. That's the band. Okay, we're gonna do the
band. Cutler, Toledo, and Slow Drag.
This is so dumb.
That's hysterical. I would be honest, I would probably marry Toledo because he was so funny. Like, every time they would be like, so-and-so Toledo. And he's like, don't bring Toledo into this. And he'd just walk away and be like, Toledo ain't got nothing to do with this. And he's like, walking away, minding his own business. And I was like, Toledo. Cutler is pretty cool. I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember who the heck Slow Jack was. Was he the bassist? Yeah, he was the bassist. Yeah.
He, honestly, that's why I feel like, honestly, I would probably marry Slow Drag because he just kept in his lane the whole time. And I respect that. And I like a nice, quiet man. A nice, quiet, stable man. So I would go and marry Slow Drag.
Yeah, I'd probably, I'd have sex with Slow Drag. I would marry Toledo, and then I would friendzone Cutler.
I think I would friendzone. Oh no. I think I would friendzone Toledo, and then I would fuck Cutler, and then I would marry Slow Drag.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah, because Cutler was kind of spicy, and I was like, you know what?
That's true, but like,
mans can be dominant. Yeah, I know. Ooh, that was a hard one. Honestly, it could go either way.
Yeah, I mean, they were all kind of too, so that's cool.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like a wait, was it like a trope where like people always think that like women are like into musicians?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know why, but maybe this is like me being asexual. I have no idea what it is. That people are like, "Oh, you're into musicians." Like girls love musicians. Like I don't know what it is. Don't
Yeah.
tell me. I don't want to know.
Okay.
I would like
damn.
to be preserved in this.
Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, some
Don't
things
tell
can
me.
be left secrets. The
Yeah.
ignorance is
It's bliss,
superior.
and I would like to
it is
keep it.
bliss. Okay. Damn,
Rectal
that's
test?
awkward. No one's gonna want to do that one, but we did it. So
We did it,
can't
so
say we're
you don't
not
have to.
consistent. Yeah. We're committed to this. We really committed.
Unless they're horrible, like some episodes, you will find out. You just don't do it because they suck.
Yeah, because we get so pissed off. And we're like, you know what? I don't want to fuck anyone.
Screw you.
Okay, so do you want to do a little fashion bit, or should we just do back?
Yeah,
to
I'll do a
us?
fashion bit. I'll do a fashion bit. Let's do a fashion bit. Because it's the 20s, costume design, amazing. I also like that they incorporated a lot of like warm color tones because I feel like, especially with Viola Davis, you don't normally see her in costumes that are like brightly colored. She gets like red, she gets like black, brown, and then they'll do like the dark blues and dark greens. But I always love when they put black people in yellow because those skin tones and yellow pops. It pops. And then you had Daisy May? Daisy May? I don't remember how you pronounce it.
I think it's
I want to say
Desi.
Desi May.
Yeah.
Desi May had her like it wasn't quite like a nude, but it was that like really pale, like orangey peach kind of dress, which also pops off on skin tones like that. And I was like, oh my god, I love that they worked with skin tones. And I love the use of color in like all of their outfits and stuff because like I want to say everyone had the brown like kind of like suits, which is like a super like old fashioned thing, but I love that. Like I love brown suits. I don't know what it is. And then you had Levy, and he kept talking about those yellow shoes. I love those shoes. I was like, he's valid in wanting those shoes because those were beautiful. So yeah, that's just kind of like a quick little thing. But I also the movie got nominated also for like hair and makeup, and I thought the hair and makeup was amazing because not only did everyone have hair that like was totally fit for the time period, because I feel like a lot of times when it comes to like black actors and stuff, they don't normally actually get the hair right for the time period. Because like a lot of like the big thing in the 20s was having that like actual part, and people don't know that like black people like especially like I'm gonna use Chadwick Boseman's character Levy as an example because he had the very obvious like side part, and like even nowadays like barbers you have to like cut that in, like that's like you do it with like a razor. And so I thought it was really interesting they actually did that because like I think sometimes you'll see like women will part their hair and stuff for like braids, or they'll part their hair and then they'll do like the their like edges all nice and stuff, or they'll like slick back their like hair. What's her name? Tati Gabrielle has like a really cool hairstyle, and she actually does her hair herself, which is interesting. She's in a. It's not called Sabrina. Is it called Sabrina? The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
Oh.
And she does the like the. God, why am I forgetting what it's called? The thing where you take the comb and you like make a wave that like curl, but she does it like in sections all throughout, and it's not her; it's like the whole head. So it's like a really short haircut, and then you like take the curls and you like shape them. But yeah, it's like super cool. So I thought it was really interesting because I've seen movies where it's like a black character and they're in the 20s, and instead of like doing any like stylistic like haircut, they just kind of keep it with like a short haircut, and you're just like, okay, because you can make it seem right with like their like outfits and stuff. But I was really glad that they actually did like the parts with their hair because that was like a huge thing. Like in the 20s, like every dude had their hair parted, and like it wasn't just white guys. Yes, it looks different on white guys when they like part their hair because they would just like comb it through or whatever. But I really appreciated that they included that in the characters and like the hairstyle of like this film, because like especially, I don't know if like on TikTok they have a lot of the like vintage, like those fashion people that are like really into like vintage clothing. So they only dress like in vintage stuff and they make a lot of videos. And they were talking basically about how like there aren't a lot of people of color that are shown when it comes to like vintage fashion. And so right now, like I've seen a lot of like 50s and 60s styles, but the 20s I always thought was like super cool because like 20s is like flapper era. Like it's super cool stuff. And you only ever see like white girls and stuff like that. So I thought it was super cool that we got to see like flapper, like a black flapper. That's basically what Daisy May was. Desi May was, and I just thought it was super cool. And like they got like the A-line, or not the A-line dress, but they had like the straight dresses that didn't really have a lot of like form-fitting thing. Like that was a very 20s style, and like kind of like the shorter with a lot of the like fringe and the beads and stuff. And it was like, oh my gosh, I've always loved these designs, but you don't see them like people of color very often. So I really appreciated that we got to like see that. That's my fashion bit.
Yo, that was good. That's so true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it would be amazing to see like a Great Gatsby, but like nobody's white. That would be so cute.
Yo, I'd be so down. Except they actually let what's his face, Nick, and the other one be gay instead of it just being projected.
Yeah.
So everyone reads it and they're like, they are queer coded AF, and then we never actually get to see them be gay.
Honestly, Daisy and what's her name would be a cute couple too.
I think they were. Like,
no, say psych.
No, I think they were supposed to be like.
They better.
Like, that was like a
you
thing.
know.
Because
I had a crush on the other one, not Daisy, but the other one. I remember reading it and I was like, I have feelings, and that was like when I was straight. And I was like, why?
You're talking about Daisy in this movie. You're talking about The Great Gatsby.
I'm talking about Great Gatsby.
Desi and Ma.
Oh like, no, I'm talking about Great Gatsby.
What are you talking about?
Oh, I was like, yo, I'm like, Mr. Fitzgerald wrote them to be gay. Oh my god, that would have changed my life.
Fitzgerald?
Wow, that would be amazing. No, I'm talking about Janice or whatever her name is, and I had a crush on her in The Great Gatsby when I read that in high school, and I was like, I love you.
Yes, this is also a very big tangent, but I feel like the way women are written in like in books that are like older or like women's relationships, they all seem gay.
Oh, yeah.
Like every time like a man writes them, they're like, oh, so-and-so, she's like always with so-and-so. And I'm like,
girl best friends?
Yeah, I'm like, oh, they just live together?
They're very good friends.
The best of friends.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, but in this movie, they definitely were gay. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, they were
kidding? Absolutely. Yeah, and then going into the Bechdel test, I think that's like the only time it passes is when she's talking to her girlfriend.
Mm-hmm. That's literally it.
So that kind of goes back to your thing where you're like, it's all men. It's true.
Yeah, it's
in a movie named after a woman, it's all men.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's what you don't get a woman until you see Ma Rainey on screen. And then even then she's talking to men. So you don't see until like almost 20-30 minutes into the movie, like you don't get a woman talking to another woman. And then even when they do, it's a sexual or like not a sexual, I don't know if it's sexual, but it's like sensual at least.
It's a relationship. Yeah. It's not like she's her own person.
Yeah. It's not like a friendship. It's not like we're just talking about life because we talk about life. And they didn't talk about their jobs and they didn't talk about other men. So it passes. But that's the only time. Every other time, it doesn't.
And we talked about it a little bit, I think, in Promising Young Woman, but probably in other ones. Because I feel like I have to clarify it every single time. Like, just because it may pass or it may not pass doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, it's good or bad or this or that. But I think there was one that we talked about that barely passed. But, But I was like, it's still, like, very sensitive. I can't remember if it's Promising Young Woman or not. there were a couple that are like that, but then this one I feel like
Yeah.
maybe it wasn't. It could have been more sensitive to the fact that they were using her name and her persona and then not making it
About her.
yeah.
And then at the same time,
Yeah.
thematically, that's exactly what the movie was about. It was about how they use Black people for their talents and then they don't give them any credit for it. And I was like, so you're really going to do that to Ma Rainey in her own movie? Wow.
Wow. You're so right. I didn't even think about that. Oh, that's really bad.
So that's not necessarily great.
Oh, that's actually super bad when you say it like that.
That's really
bad.
I was like, you're really gonna make a movie and try to be like, make it an homage to her. She's barely in the film. She has one line to another woman in the movie. Like, and basically, like, she's got what, like 2 big scenes where she actually talks. You've got the scene where she's talking about, or she's talking about her car, and she's like, this car better be fixed or whatever. Like, it's gonna be my car. And then when she's in the room, the rest of the band is far away from her. She's talking to her manager and she's talking to Cutler. Those are the only 2 times she has like a scene. Is when she's talking to Cutler and she's like, Cutler, you need to put Levy in check or whatever. Cutler, what do you mean? It was Levy's idea, wasn't it, that we didn't get, that my nephew was told that he doesn't get the part or whatever. And then she talks to Cutler about how her manager, she's like, yeah, like they don't care about me at all. As soon as they get my voice in those boxes, like, they're going to toss me aside like we're nothing but dogs to them, blah, blah, blah. And then that's it. Like, that's basically it. Other than that, she's singing. Or just being kind of like
this was like a short movie. I think this was like a 90-minute movie, which was shocking to me.
Yeah.
But it makes sense because it was a play and such things. But then, it was very, it's really short.
Yeah. Like, when I remember telling you, or did I tell you? I remember telling you that I was like, oh, I'm going to watch it. And then I turned it on. I was watching it. And then I had to go to class. And then I came back from class. And I was going to take a bath. And I was like, okay, so I still got, like, because I oftentimes will just watch something to time out, like, how long my bath will need to be. Because it'll be like, you're going to be in here for at least 30 minutes. So I'll, like, put on, like, a TV show or something, like a 30-minute long episode or 45 minutes. And so I thought that I had that much time left, and then I finished the movie, and I still had time left in my bath, and I was like, wait, what?
Is that short?
I thought I had, like, more time, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess I gotta find something else to watch.
Gotta get out of the bath.
Threw me off.
That's so funny.
Yeah, but...
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, when it comes to rating this one, I'm not sure how to rate it.
I have thought about my rating, and I went back and forth for a bit, but I think I would give it an 8, because I really liked it. I didn't talk too much about like stuff that I liked. We kind of mostly just talked about Academy Awards and stuff, but I liked basically all the things that it was nominated for. I love the performances; they were amazing. I loved the set design, costume design. Everything was so beautiful. I was so like enthralled by it. It was so magical. There's
a scene that will live in my head rent free forever, because it's the scene basically where Toledo on the keys and he starts talking. It's right after Levy goes through that thing about his mom and how she like died, and then how his dad went in, and I was like, this is the movie, this right here, this is it. And he does that like song, and then it cuts to different Black folks living in the city with these like neo-noir like lighting. So you got like the blinds, you've got them sitting in a window, and I was like, beautiful. But then it does that like slow zoom thing, and I was like, that's so cool. And there's like another scene towards the end where they use the doorway, and I thought this was the coolest composition because you're seeing it from the outside, right? So you see like Toledo's there, and then there's Cutler, and then you see Levy leave, and then it cuts to like the end of the doorway, and you see Cutler sitting there in the chair, and he's talking to Toledo, who's against the wall. That is exactly the same wall that Chadwick's character Levy just walked through. And then he comes back and he leans against the doorway. And so you've got him in the foreground, and then you've got you've got Cutler in the background, and they're separated by the door. And so the lighting in each little room is different, and it's It's
Yeah, that was
beautiful.
a good scene.
Oh man, it's amazing.
Yeah, I thought the content of the dialogue was so amazing. There were a lot of like stories that they told and things that were very specific to the narrative and specific to the story, but also had like it felt very personal. Like not to me, but it just felt like something that was like I think I said it earlier, but it could break out of the movie and it was like a universal lesson while also being something that carried throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
Just fantastic. I don't know. I thought it was really good.
So good.
Yeah, I guess the main quips that we already went over, that whole I do feel like I think of a movie lesser when they do things like that, like use a woman's name to kind of exploit it or like just that kind of stuff. I don't know. It makes it feel weird.
Yeah. And I'm not sure that it was necessarily they were using like her name to talk about her, because it's also the name of the song, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and that song kind of embodies like all of the struggles that they have. And so I was like, it's probably that they're using the song because through the song they're like, we have different arrangements of this, and then the white guy gets to choose like what the arrangement is, and then he's like, okay, and then they use Ma Rainey's Black Bottom as like the song, even though they go through all the writing and all the struggle of having to like make the song, and then they get all the profits off of it, the white people. Yeah. And I was like, that's like the theme of the movie, I guess. But it was a little bit misleading because from two girls that are talking about women, from two women talking about women of color in film, and thinking that it's a movie that's going to be about a woman of color and like her history and stuff like that. And then it like absolutely wasn't about that at all.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, so like for me reading it, I was like, I wanted to like from a feminist perspective, I would say that it's not great like representation because it kind of doesn't really do that much for her character, and they don't really tell you a lot about her character. Like she's just there. But as a movie, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, like as
you
a
can't,
movie,
can't
I'd
argue
probably
with the
give
fact
it
that
an
it's
8
amazing.
as well.
Oh, and you talked about this before because I remember mentioning something about like how like something about that white savior thing in the old guard, which still hasn't come out yet. Fuck, but like it will. But like that, how she was getting assistance from Charlize Theron's character, and I was like, oh, if a white savior, da da da. And you're like, well, they like black girls always have to struggle on screen, and she was struggling hard in this movie. Like it's always a struggle,
like,
which really sucks.
This movie is really just about like the black struggle, and I was like, I'm not tired of these movies getting nominated.
Yeah, so that kind of sucks
people
too.
Winning, please.
And not only black people, but black women especially. I think.
Yeah, she had no one.
Yeah,
no
which
one.
Really sucks.
And like she talks about it in the thing, she's like, yeah, like the blues. That's the only reason I get up in the morning. If they want to call me Mother Blues, they can call me Mother Blues. And she's like, but people that are listening to the blues right now, they don't understand where it comes from. And she's like, I understand where it comes from because that's the only reason I keep living. It's the only reason that reminds me that life is worth living is because there's music. And I was like, yeah, but like she literally has no one. Her band doesn't back her up. Her band argues with her. Her manager argues with her. Her like lover goes off with someone else and has sex with him. Her nephew's there, but he's not contributing to helping her. She has to do all this work on her own. And then at the end, she ends up still having to sign the papers and give the song because that's how she is making her living. Like that's the only thing that's keeping her above ground. And I was like, and they said they were like, if she were to go anywhere else, like only black people know who she is. Like if she were to go anywhere else, like she goes uptown, like to where the white people are, like she's the same as everyone else. Like she's the same as any other black lady. They don't know who she is. Yeah. And I was like, I hate that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I get it. Like, I guess some people still don't get that, which is why we keep getting these movies, but Lord.
Yeah. I know. So that was like, that was a major point for me. But then I thought everything else was just amazing. Like, I wouldn't change anything else.
The movie was really good.
Definitely.
And it was very
I would recommend it to people as well.
Yeah, I would recommend it to people for sure. Yeah. It was very nuanced in the way that they did it. Like, all the conversations, like, it wasn't like it was a white person talking about the black struggle. It wasn't like a history lesson. It was like black people talking about being a black person. And so at the same time, it definitely did give like justice to the struggle. But yeah, it was kind of like, dang, can we stop having to talk about our struggles?
I know. Yeah.
Honestly, I would rate it lower if the movie wasn't like that good. Like if it was just like an average movie, I'd be like, screw this movie.
I mean, yeah, we gave Black Bear like, I don't even remember, a shitty score.
Okay, well that one sucked. So
that's what I'm saying. That one sucked.
Still makes me angry. It's been weeks.
Yeah.
This one, like, I would recommend to people. We could watch it and have like actual good conversations with other people that even aren't like film buffs about it. So yeah, I think it's a good one.
And I don't have recommendations.
I was going to recommend, because this movie reminded me a lot of One Night in Miami by Regina King, which also I feel got snubbed as far as Oscars go. But I guess they can't have two movies that are talking movies that are about the Black struggle. So,
right. Yeah.
I mean, they could have chosen The Woman. Just saying.
It's so funny. Like, I can't remember. It was one of your friends, like, I don't know if it was Logan or who said this. We can just cut this out if this is stupid. But he was like, Disney basically picks a different like ethnicity to focus on for the year or whatever. Like, and I was like, you know what? Actually, like the Oscars does that too.
Yeah, they pretty much do. They're like, oh, is it going to be a woman this time? Is it going to be a Black person this time? Like, you'll never know. That's so funny.
Like, who's the minority of the
really
year?
Sad.
Yeah.
No, that's true. That's a very big like thing about like the Oscars and the Academy. They do kind of choose like one thing to focus on. Because like I felt kind of bad with like Moonlight and stuff because I thought La La Land was like a pretty good movie overall. And I think I remember saying this to you was like when that happened, I was like, I feel like Moonlight should have gotten Best Screenplay and La La Land should have gotten Best Picture, because even though the acting in Moonlight was like really good, I felt like the story was so good that like it was going to be a great movie regardless of like who was in it, if that makes sense. I was like the story was so good that like it would have just penetrated like everyone, like it was going to be a good movie regardless. But then I was like, La La Land, if that movie had been done by anybody else, it probably would have sucked. Like I don't think it would have been as good. And so I was like, I feel like they should have been switched. And I feel like they only made Moonlight like the winner because of the fact that the year before they had the like Oscars So White thing. And so I was kind of like a little annoyed. I was like, dang, did they really like, I hope they didn't just give Moonlight like the Oscar because they're trying to make, like it felt like they were trying to make up for it. Like it felt very pandery.
Yeah.
And I was like,
But that's just what sucks too, is the fact that there's these standards where it's like Best Picture is the like, what is it, you know, the highest honor, when I mean you just made some points about like what it realistically should be, but they, you know what I mean, I don't know, it doesn't, it's all just arbitrary. It's like whatever.
It's such a crazy competition.
Like how can something win Best Picture? Like Parasite won Best Picture but didn't have any acting nominations. Okay, so like, what does that even mean? So, like, obviously you didn't, like, what? How is it Best Picture if you don't like the actors? That doesn't make no sense. So, I don't even know. Like, what? It's all just arbitrary and made up. It's just
or,
so
like,
stupid.
You'll get one movie that wins multiple, so it'll get, like, Best Picture, but then it'll also get, like, Best Screenplay, Best Female Actress, Best Male Actor, which also I feel like they should maybe, I don't know, I feel like it'd be cool if they, like, stopped gendering that, but... We're not.
Girl, I feel like if they stopped gendering it, girls would never win. Can I be straight up? Girls would never win it. Like, forget about it. Forget about a girl of color even winning it. Like
what happens when we actually get to the point where non-binary people are actually getting nominated and getting roles in movies? Like,
oh, fuck.
Look,
whoa. That's kind of insane, because has there really not been like a non-cis person that's been nominated?
I don't think there has been. Like, ever.
Wow. That's insane.
Dang,
dude, you're so right.
Me off.
You're so right. The gender's gotta go. Just
like,
throw the whole gender away.
To be, like, more inclusive somehow, like...
Yeah.
I obviously don't have the answer, but it's gonna come up.
Because I feel like the white guys would just win every time. You're right. It's going to. I know. That sucks. That's booty. I don't know what they're gonna do. That's booty.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to leave you with those thoughts. Think about that.
Yep. Y'all can think about that one. Oh, I guess I never really told you why you should watch One Night in Miami.
Oh, yeah. Go for it.
So to finish the fact that we were recommending One Night in Miami, directed by Regina King, which is her directorial debut and should have been nominated. It's kind of great. But it's also really interesting because, for starters, it's not a biopic. They have characters in the movie, but none of it's based off of real life. It's like this imaginative, like, writing of what if these, like, four big, like, Black icons in the community that were, like, huge for their activism and, like, their work met one night, and, like, what would their conversations have been like before everything kind of got real, right before, like, everything got intense. And so it's really interesting, like, their conversations that they had. They talk a lot about like, activism and, like, it's just really, and, like, how you present your activism, I think. And so it was really interesting because there's, like, struggles with that, and I think that's something that right now that's been, like, a conversation, especially with, like, Black Lives Matter. That was a conversation, which was an interesting one because, like, not only were we having to prove that, like, Black people shouldn't just be dying, they were also like, okay, well, why do you have to, like, have activism like this? And I was like, bro, the 60s happened. It's like, you all have never taken a history class. I was like, if you take a history class and you learn about, like, Malcolm X and, like, Martin Luther King, you learn why one was more accepted over than the other as far as their activism. And it had so much to do with, like, who they were catering to and all of that stuff. So the movie definitely, like, talks about it, and I think it's super relevant to a bunch of issues that we're talking about today. And it's very well done. Like, cinematography is great, the acting is really great. There's I think it's really cool because the actors aren't, like, super well known. The guy that plays Malcolm X, I was like, oh, I know him. And I was like, oh, he was in High Fidelity, like, with Zoe Kravitz. Like, he was in that show. I've only seen him in TV shows or, like, rom-coms that aren't really popular, like, on, like, Hulu or Netflix kind of a thing. So I thought it was really cool that he was in, like, a movie that, like, was, in my opinion, like, worthy
really
of,
good.
like, awards and stuff like that. There's also the guy that played Muhammad Ali in the movie, which I had only ever seen him one time, and that was in The 100. He dies in the first season.
Ooh.
And I was like, whoa, like, I haven't seen this guy for a hot minute. And I was like, why does he look so familiar? And then I was like, oh my Lord, that's that kid. Like, he's grown up. He's so, like, look at him. He's playing, like, this character. Are you? And they all did so good. They all did great. Yeah, I would definitely recommend that movie. Go support Regina King. It's great. All right, well, I guess that's all we got for you today. I have no idea how long this one is, but thanks for staying for as long as you have. Comment on YouTube what you thought of the movie. Continue our conversations. No one comments on our stuff, and I'm so sad.
What, on YouTube?
I'm trying to have, like, conversations with people, and there's, like, no one commenting. It's so sad.
Girl, we need to get viewers first.
I know, we gotta share this video with your friends.
Yeah, we gotta get viewers.
So I know our friends are watching this when they have time, which is really cool. So thanks, guys. Love you. If you don't know us personally, like, definitely comment, because I'd love to be your friend. Especially if you're into movies. Like, please, I'm begging you. I'm begging. I am begging here.
You said, please, a crumb of comment.
Please. Just
a
a
crumb of interaction.
Yeah, interact with us. Thanks.
Have a great rest of your day.
Only if you comment. I'm just kidding.
Wow, we're leaving that in.
Yeah, no, that's staying in. I wasn't actually kidding.
Okay, and it can just ominously fade out.
Me staring at it.
Yeah, you're like, comment.
Excuse me? Yeah, plug in.
Oh my god.